Hey, what's up, guys? Over here from the OneWayGospel Ministry, and as you can tell, I'm sitting here in a hotel room. It's been pretty quiet, and I've been reflecting on many things, and especially what God has done in the past year. And I thought it'd be a good idea for me to share a few testimonies with you guys. Hopefully, it can be of encouragement and of edification to the body. I do want to start with reading here a passage in Revelation 12:11. Many people know this verse. It says, "And they overcame him because of the blood of the Lamb and because of the word of their testimony, and they did not love their life even when faced with death." Now, if you look at the context of this, it more than likely is talking about the martyrs, but it's also, in a sense, talking about a believer in everyday life, because we've been called to die daily. And when we pick up the cross and follow Christ to minister to others, we are pretty much dying to our pleasures, our everyday pleasures. So we give up our desires to go minister to other people. And so the testimonies that we carry strengthen us and the body, because by the testimony, others are lifted up, and we don't consider our life to be so valuable to the point that we rather die to our pleasures so that we can help others. So I do think that this verse is very um, applicable to everyday believers' life. So that being said, um, so I want to start off with a desire that I had when I was about 28, 29. When I just realized that my 30s were approaching, I started to evaluate my life and ask myself, what have I done spiritually with my life? I was about to hit 30 years old, and I didn't think that I had done anything. And just thinking about the life of Christ and how his ministry started when he was 30, that put a lot of things into perspective. And I asked myself, like, he was my age when he started. Why haven't I done anything? Why haven't I prepared myself to do anything at the age of 30? And so my biggest desire was to do something so radical before the age of 33, because that's the age that Christ died. And so I did tell myself that at the age of 30, I wanted to do something. And I remember that after I turned 30 years old, um, I gave my first message behind a pulpit, and that was a big milestone for me. You know, I was able to give a little sermonette or sermon to the youth at a youth service, so that was big. But that wasn't what I really wanted. What I wanted to do was what Christ did. You know, Christ went out into the streets and he ministered to the people on the streets. And so that was my biggest desire. So I had watched a lot of videos on YouTube on street preachers, and I just admired their boldness to go out and to do that, you know. And so the only thing was that I didn't have anybody to show me, and I didn't want to do it by myself. And the other part was I didn't like the message that I was listening to, because it was very, I don't know, it's very rough. You know, people with the picket signs and the you know, the megaphones, and there was just a lot of confrontations, a lot of arguments. But you know, somewhere deep inside, I didn't like that. But on the surface, I'm like, well, you know, they're telling the truth. Like, if they don't repent from their sins, that, you know, their punishment is hell and stuff like that. So I had this internal battle, and then well, a lot of little things happened. But I'm 32 now, and last year, not to make the story too long, last year around November, we went to a Last Reformation kickstart that allowed me to experience uh, street ministry. You know, we were taken out into the public, and we started going out and and praying for people that had any kind of pain in their body. And that's when I experienced freedom in going out and realizing the approach and thinking about it. That's what Christ did. You know, Christ actually went out and healed people. He prayed for the sick. He delivered people from demons. And in the end, he preached the gospel, but it wasn't standing on the corner and just preaching the gospel the way we do it today. It was actually having a lot of fruits and signs behind his street ministry, if you will. So that kind of broke the ice for me. And ever since then, there's been a lot of testimonies come out of that. And so I want to share a few testimonies here. And I hope to, like I said, encourage people with this. So they're not going to be in specific order, but I do have them jotted down as I remember them. So there was one lady, her name's Maria. We went to the mall, and so we were just walking and looking at people who we thought we could approach to ask them if they had any pain. It was all random asking, and so we approached two custodian ladies, Hispanics, and we asked, "Do you guys need any prayer for any kind of healing, sickness, pain in your body?" And the one lady said, "No, I'm good, thank you." The other lady looked hesitant, and she didn't say no or yes. She just said, "No, thank you. Maybe later," is what she said. I said, "Okay, that's cool." So we walked for like 45 minutes. We went to the second level, and then she came and she approached us and she stopped us and said, "Hey, just want to ask you a few questions. What church do you go to?" We told her we actually don't go to church, but we just take the gospel on the streets and pray for people. And she said, "Okay." And so she said, "I actually do have pain on my shoulder here, and I can't pick up the mop and I can't pick up my broom without two hands." And she's like, "This is what I do for a living, and it hurts. It's been hurting for a long time." She said, "I can't sleep." She's like, "I have to sleep a certain way, and it's very painful." And so I asked her if I could pray, and she said, "Yeah." So I began to pray, and the first time I prayed, she was able to pick it up just a tad bit more than she could before. She still needed two hands, and I said, "Let me pray again." And so when I prayed again, she actually I put my hand here and I grabbed her arm and I picked it up like that. And as I was picking up and praying like this, I went down and up like that. I could feel specifically 3 bones just like cracking back into place twice. I could feel it, 3 little bones cracking, and she was just like shocked. And after that, she could pick it up and she was totally healed, and she was just crying and she was just amazed by what was happening. And the thing is, guys, that if we wouldn't have gone out, she would probably still be in pain. It's because, like I was saying about this verse, like our pleasures of that Saturday morning were less than wanting to go out and minister to somebody, to share Jesus, to share his authority and his power through the prayer of healing. And so that testimony not only brought my faith up, but many people that I was telling about, their faith went up and said, "Wow, like this is doable. Like we can do this, and we can." And so I believe that sharing testimony is very, very important, right? And so another one, actually a guy that's been on our podcast episode, Luis Ramirez, he came to Raleigh one time because his son had to get some brain waves checked because he was having seizures, and they were very random and stuff. They never knew. Every time he had a fever, he would get seizures. And he met me for lunch one time, and I said, "Let me just pray for you, man." This was months ago. This is like, I don't know, 2-3 months ago. And I prayed for him, and I just spoke to him the other night. And he says that ever since we prayed, that his son has not had any seizures at all, and that the brain waves came back normal. It's amazing. And then one other thing, I'm gonna give one more testimony. I was at Walmart a couple of weeks ago, and I started to ask God for him to give me word of knowledge, because I was talking to some brothers, and a brother Troy was giving testimonies of how he began to like place the carnal mind aside, just press the carnal mind aside and just listen to the voice of God. And so if we exercise the gift, then we get stronger at that. So we have to learn to kill the carnal mind, because the carnal mind just has enmity with God. The carnal mind does not like anything that has to do with God. So we push it aside and let the Spirit of the Lord lead, and we listen to His voice with sensitivity. You know, we can hear Him speak to us through thoughts, feelings, and audible voices. You know, why not? But more than likely for me, at least, has been like just a thought placed in my head. And so I asked the Lord to give me a word of knowledge, so that I could target somebody instead of just randomly ask. And so I was looking around praying, and I looked at this one guy with his wife, and yeah, the thought came, you know, knee problems. He has knee problems. And so you know, what else do I do? Like, I won't know until I ask. So I went and I approached him. I followed him to the furniture. Then I said, "Hey, excuse me, sir." And he's like, "Yeah." I said, "Do you have any knee problems?" He's like, "Yes, I do." And I said, "Cool." I said, "Does it hurt now?" He's like, "Yeah." I said, "Cool." I said, "Can I pray for you?" He said, "Yeah, sure." So I placed my hands on his knees, and I just commanded the pain to come out. And he thought that I was going to pray and just leave. And I actually said, "No, check your pain, see where it's at." And so he started to check his pain, and he was shocked. He was like, "Hold on one second." He started walking the aisle, and then he went to the end of the aisle. He's like, "How did you know?" I was like, "Man," I said, "It's God." You know, I said, I was asking him to show me somebody, and he showed me you. He said, "This is crazy, man. This is amazing. I can't believe you're praying for me." He said, "It's crazy." I'm like, "Yeah, dude, Jesus wants you to be healed, man." And he's like, "You don't understand, man." He's like, "I was in a car accident years ago, like a decade ago, and my entire body was affected by this accident, and everything was in pain." He said, and I was prayed for, and everything got healed but my knees, you know. And he said, the fact that you come to specifically target my knees, it's a big deal. And I was like, "Bro, like God just sent me over here." And so he was super shocked. You know, he was a believer. He went to church, so it was awesome. We were just praising the Lord together. And so as I left, I could hear him tell his wife, you know, he was just saying, "Wow, wow, I can't believe you prayed for me." I came around the aisle and I could still hear him. It was amazing. And so even my son, you know, his he was walking with a limp, and you know his his heel was hurting, and I didn't know that he was off balance. And my wife had said he's always walked like that. I didn't even know. So I sat him down, checked his feet, and his feet were off by about not half an inch, but like quarter inch or something. And I just commanded the leg to grow out, you know, and it started growing out. And ever since then, he's been walking normal. And so God's just moving, like he's just moving so much. And it's I've noticed that it's whenever I die to myself, and I surrender my will to do his will, it's when things happen. You know, it's when I get my mind out of the way and, you know, put on the mind of Christ, that things happen. It's when I just sacrifice my desires to do his desires, things happen. You know, and my faith is increased, and the more my faith is increased, the less I want to do that has anything to do with me, and I want to do more that has to do with him, because it's just how things work. Like, I have more desires to serve him the more that my faith is increased, and less desire to serve myself. It's insane. It's crazy, but it's amazing, you know. And there's many more testimonies that I have, and I'll record them as they come. But I did want to share this because I want people to see that I'm just your average guy. You know, I'm just many people know me, and God is moving, and this is for everybody. This is for the entire body. We've all been called to go out and to minister to the people. Matthew 28:19, go therefore and make disciples, or teach all nations. Making disciples of all nations or teaching all nations. In other words, spreading the gospel and making disciples, baptizing them, and then teaching them, and then discipling them. That's what we've been called to do. It's for everybody. It's for everybody. It's not just for specific people. I believe we've all been called to do this. So I hope that you can be encouraged with this to say, hey, I can do this too, and you can. Just go out and do it. Just go out and command the pain to go away. Don't put any thought afterwards. When you put your hand on there and you say, in the name of Jesus Christ, pain, leave this body now. Don't think anything else. Don't doubt, don't question. Literally think about the roses and the fields. Just think about anything else, because once the carnal mind comes in with doubt, you have little faith, you know? So that's how that works. But yeah, God is good, and he is greatly to be praised. And so I praise him and I thank him. And I hope you guys are encouraged with this. And I will talk to you guys soon. Love you. God bless you.